Happy Tuesday, everyone. We've got several storm systems to talk about. First, we've got a powerful storm system that's going to be impacting the West Coast today. And also, we have a severe weather concern as we head into Saturday time frame. But for this morning on the satellite picture, out into the open waters of the Atlantic, let's turn our attention to Lorenzo. Yet as another named storm, but there's nothing to really be concerned about this one, as it's going to be safely moving out into the open waters of the Atlantic. Of course, we have our coastal low that impacted areas of the East Coast this weekend, especially into the Carolinas and New Jersey, with very heavy rain for them and high winds along the coast. But even that storm has now moved off into the open waters as well. But now we're going to be talking about this storm system that's already brought some heavy rains and even some isolated tornado warnings in the overnight hours for the West Coast, getting down into Southern California. That's a system that's moving in and going to be packing a punch with a lot of heavy snow there into the Sierras, and some heavier rains that are going to be moving into the Los Angeles region for between now and the next 24 hours. So let's break it down for you. It's been plenty warm across the central part of the country. They're experiencing, some of these areas down into Texas has been getting their almost the warmest October on record so far. But it's completely opposite off the West Coast. They've been getting system after system, especially there in the Southwest, with those two systems that came in for the deserts with Priscilla and also Raymond. And now we're dealing with a West Coast system that's bringing some chillier rains and the heavier snows in the Sierras. That's going to bring down those temperatures and continue on the overall cooler or colder side. So we do have some freeze warnings up here to the Dakotas, but the main impacts is the severe weather watch, and all the heavy snows are going to get into the mountain ranges. So we're going to be looking at some higher winds, complements of that low pressure center that's moving in off the West Coast this morning. Later on today, that will eventually filter down all the way into the Southern California and then swing over into the deserts, back into the Las Vegas region, as well as getting back into areas of Arizona. So there is the low pressure center with the water vapor imagery really pulling in that Pacific moisture and dumping it inland. Typically, this is usually one of your drier months in Southern California, but we do have a system, and it's complements of kind of a remnants of a typhoon that's going to be pushing in back into off into the West Coast. There are some heavier rains that will be swinging into Southern California with all the higher abundance of water vapor. So we do have a slight area of excessive rainfall back into areas of Southern California today. And we also have another little remnants of this more or less tropical moisture. So it's been plenty active out there into the Eastern Pacific, and we've been naming these storms one after another. And yes, that flow has been alive and well back into areas of New Mexico later on this afternoon, with some more elevated and heavier rains for them. And of course, the higher winds are going to be picking up as well for the next 24 hours, complements of that low pressure center that's now over Central California, that'll eventually be swinging into Southern California later on this afternoon. That will swing into the desert Southwest with all those higher winds, 40, 50 miles per hour is definitely not out of the question. So for the next 24 hours, here's your overall rain prospects. So where the high pressure is highlighted over the Central Plains, much of the Southeast, continued dry into the Ohio Valley. Most of the flows coming off the Pacific and pushing into those into areas of New Mexico, kind of up and over the ridge, with some kind of moderate to heavier rains over Minnesota, back into Iowa. But then, of course, the heavier rains are going to be complements with that low pressure center over the next 24 hours. We could have some flooding concerns. We do have areas of flood warnings at times through the Santa Barbara area, and that will swing further south, eventually heading into Los Angeles and even sneaking all the way down into San Diego. But overall, it's been a warm month for October so far. We're almost halfway through. In a lot of areas, they're still wondering when fall is actually going to start, with plenty well above average temperatures of 5, 10, upwards to even higher than that. Further north, you get into Minnesota. So really the only cooler game in town has been where these systems have been coming in off the west coast. That's been obviously keeping those temperatures down. And of course, the vorticity will be moving inland as we head into Wednesday. So we'll be watching this storm system mainly impacting the west coast, because the ridge is going to be dominating much of the middle part of the country for a good part of, if not all, the work week. So most of the instability, most of the cooler like air will be out west. All the warmer air will be central and eastern 2/3 of the U.S. And as we head into the next 5 days between, say Wednesday all the way through Saturday morning, yeah, you continue to remain on the overall cooler side into the desert Southwest, all of California, much of the Pacific Northwest, while much of the areas of the central and eastern 2/3 continue to remain under that dominant ridge of high pressure. So between Wednesday and Saturday, here's what's left after today from California as we head into Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and does include Saturday morning. Most of the instability is going to be swinging in complements of that low pressure center that will be lifting through the Four Corners regions into Wyoming and back into areas of the Dakotas, squeezing out the precipitation along the way, while you'll continue to remain on the high and dry side all week long. But that does change as we head into Saturday. So as we get into that Saturday time frame, we are going to be seeing a little bit of a pattern change for those areas that have been plenty warm for a good part of, if not all of October. So finally, things are going to be changing a little bit as we move into that Saturday time frame with the dip and the jet stream, and that's going to pull in some of that Gulf moisture and some of those elevated dew points by then, creeping into the 70s, especially further off to the coast you live. But it's likely going to be, say northeast Texas, southeastern Oklahoma, getting into Arkansas, northern Louisiana, back into Missouri, portions of Illinois. Not crazy high dew points, but enough instability in place to support some strong, if not severe, thunderstorms by then. So yeah, we had a day six risk yesterday put out by the Storm Prediction Center. It is now day 5 because it starts on Saturday. But right now, the favorite area, and this doesn't really look to change too much, is areas just say east of I-35 in Dallas, northeast Texas, back into northern areas of Louisiana, all of Arkansas, southeastern Oklahoma, as well as into areas of Missouri, swinging into western Tennessee, western areas of Mississippi, and eventually getting into southern portions of Illinois. But I think most of the instability is on Saturday, because as we swing into that Sunday time frame, obviously that system will continue to move from west to east, but most of the instability will be coming down. So we could be seeing some maybe marginally induced thunderstorms by then, by the time we head into Sunday, as we swing into areas of Tennessee and Kentucky, but they won't be nearly as strong as what you're going to be dealing with on that Saturday. So guys, I appreciate you watching. Do like this video, definitely hit the subscribe button, and catch me next update where I protect you before and after the storm.